Just a few months ago, we did a video about micro homesteading, and that was during the time of year when everything was still pretty much dormant back here. So today we're going to harvest some vegetables, and we're going to make a classic vegetable dish in the Dutch oven called ratatouille. But I also want to just take you for a quick walkthrough of our little micro homestead here, and you can see what this starts looking like when it gets into production. Our Parfianca pomegranate that we planted last year, we did a video about it, is actually starting to fruit this year. You can see one coming on there. So we're looking forward to that. The old Meyer lemon tree is starting to put out lemons, and it even is producing some more blooms right now for a second run. This bush right here, the blueberry bush, is pretty much picked free. We've been eating blueberries till we're literally blue in the face. This bush here still has to be harvested. Our dwarf nectarine tree has got fruit all over it, and we'll be enjoying sweet nectarine soon. This is our new blueberry bush we put in this year, and it had quite a bit of fruit on it as well. This one here I've been eating just off the bush every time I walk by it, so it's getting a little thinner. And this is a pink lemonade bush that we put in a few years ago. It puts out fruit that is pink, but is basically the same thing as a standard blueberry. Our tomato harvest is starting to ripen up. Got two different kinds of eggplant out here. This is the millionaire or Asian type eggplant there. These are some peppers with some more Asian type eggplant in that same bucket. But these eggplants produce a long, narrow type fruit. They're very prolific, and they do very well in the hot summers in my area. I talked in the first video about overwintering these two eggplant bushes that we had from last year, and I wasn't sure how that was going to work out, but I think, as you can see, it worked out real well. This thing is so loaded with eggplants that it's starting to lean over due to the weight. And we've got a lot of small fruits coming on this one. There's a big one that we're going to harvest today. We put in a bare root raspberry, a couple of them actually, in some tubs about the time of the last video, and you can see that we're already starting to get some berries forming on this one. This is a heritage raspberry, and it's an ever-bearing type, so we should get some fruit during the summer that you see starting to shape up here, and then we'll get another crop during the fall. Here's our elderberries in their fully flowered out stage. These things really put off a big showy bloom. More importantly, these things put out a very high quality berry that has a lot of medicinal, antiviral, and cold and flu benefits that's being validated by science. I mentioned that in the last video. Do your own research on that. I think it's very interesting. I'm not one that runs around looking at plants and things like that to be, our complete solution to all of our medical needs, but I certainly do believe that some of this stuff can have some validation by science behind it, and elderberries seem to. Okay, the old blackberry bushes they're starting to produce. They've got little green berries, and these things are just absolutely loaded. We're going to have a big blackberry harvest this year. You may have seen last year when we did the blackberry jam video how we process these and what we like to do with them. We literally get just gallons and gallons of blackberries off these two triple crown bushes. This year I did add a Kiowa blackberry bush, and about in the center of our run here, and you can tell it by its thorns. The triple crowns are a thornless variety, where the Kiowa is a thorned bush. However, it is an upright grower. It is an earlier producer. We're already getting some blackberries ripening on it. So that's just kind of a test plant for me. I'm going to see how they do. Kiowas produce the largest blackberry that we have as of the time of this recording. And it just was something I wanted to see, how it does and what the berries are like, how big they actually are, and how well they produce. Our burgundy plum tree is always loaded to the hilt with fruit. In fact, I have to thin this thing out, and I literally pulled hundreds and hundreds of small plums off this tree as they were starting to form. And as you can see, I certainly could have thinned this thing out a lot more. I have to brace up the branches just to keep it from the weight of these things breaking them off. And we also make fruit leather and other things out of these that we have made videos about if you want to go back and see how we did that. The old persimmon tree has set its fruit for the year. These won't be ripened up till late fall. Okay, let's get some vegetables harvested up and we'll get our Dutch oven out and we'll make some classic ratatouille. So I am going to chop this onion down into some smaller chunks, and then I'll show you how all that comes together. First up, I'm going to put some good quality olive oil into our pan, and be liberal with this. A good olive oil is part of what makes this dish so tasty. Now I'm just going to put our onion in there. We're going to hold the garlic back, and we're going to get those caramelized down a little bit, and then we'll add the garlic at the end. We cooked our onions down a little while till they're translucent. I added whole cloves of garlic at the end. You can add as much of that as you like, a whole head or whatever floats your boat there. Since we're using cherry tomatoes from our garden, our large tomatoes are not ripe yet, but these are. I've just thrown them in there and mashed them up a little bit to break them up versus cutting each one. And now I'm going to add one large eggplant in there, cubed up. This step here is going to be kind of a long cooking process. We're going to slowly cook this down until the water is out of it and we're able to mash this down into a creamy paste. I'm just going to cut some of our eggplant and zucchini up now into wafers like this, and we'll show you what we're going to do with that here in just a minute. I like to soak the eggplant in a little bit of salt water. That does a couple of things for us. It'll help remove any bitterness it might have, but it'll also help moisten this up so we don't have little tough bits of styrofoam on the top of our dish. For our herbs, I'm just going to pick some thyme. I think that'll go real well, and a little bit of basil I think always goes good with some of the tomato sauce. Most of our water is cooked out of this, and that's about right where we want it. I may have forgot to mention earlier to put a bay leaf in there, but either way, if you add one in there, take it out. And now what we want to do is I'm going to simply make this into kind of a mushy consistency. This will be a very creamy, delicious base for the rest of the vegetables that I'm getting ready to add into this dish. Now I'm going to come in here and start alternate layering around our dish with our vegetables. I'm just going to add some salt and pepper to this. We're going to do another little drizzle of our olive oil across the top of these veggies that are on the top. We'll throw our herbs that we gathered up just a little while ago. Throw those in there now. And now what we want to do is we want to make sure that our fire is minimal on the bottom. And this is the point where we're going to add heat to the top of our Dutch oven so that we make an oven type situation out of this, not just heat coming across the bottom of it. And that's going to allow this to bake at about 350 degrees is our target temperature here. And we'll let this go for about another 30 minutes and we'll see our finished dish. And I'll tell you, this is absolutely delicious. It seems like just simple vegetables, but you would be amazed at how good this tastes. Alright, our ratatouille cooked for about a half hour with the lid on using heat from the top. I raised up the Dutch oven towards the end just a little bit because I didn't need as much heat down at the bottom as I did on the top. So I'm going to let this cool down now, and we'll dish it up and we'll give this a taste test. I've plated up some of our ratatouille, and doesn't that look delicious? I tell you, this makes a great side dish for fish or any other meat. Put it over pasta or just eat it plain like this. I'm going to go ahead and give it a little salt, a little pepper here at the end, and I like to put just a little bit of Parmesan cheese on top of it, and I'm telling you what, this is something that you'll never forget. If you've never tasted ratatouille, believe me, this is a real treat. Absolutely delicious. You know, being prepared doesn't mean that we have to eat the same old boring foods and just live a miserable existence till we weather through the storm. With a simple garden setup like I've shown you here in my very small yard, you can add a lot of dishes like we've shown you today to your preps and to other foods that you've got stored, and it would make a big difference in your overall mental health, I believe, in the long term. Hey, if you appreciate the content that we provided for you in today's video, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button down below. Those things do help us build the channel. And as always, remember, get ready so that you and your family can succeed and thrive. Now I'm just going to chop up a store-bought onion. Down, I'm just going to take, I do that every time, those things are sharp as hell.